Hello, good evening. Thank you all so much for being here. I know that there are, I'm sure, thousands of questions from the audience. I will start our Q&A with a few questions of my own. I have many. Jeffrey, you said in your introduction that Vito seemed to be a person who was quite the archivist himself and left many records that would make it easy to tell his story. But one of the really fascinating things about your documentary is that there is so much great archival footage in it, and I'm thinking particularly here of that phenomenal rally at Washington Square Park with Silvio Rivera and Bette Midler. Could you talk about how you found that and how much time went into finding everything that came together to make this film?
First of all, it's a great honor to be here at the New York Film Festival. Thank you again for having us. And you know, I have to say that it all started with working on the Celluloid Closet, Rob Epstein and Jeffrey Friedman's film. I read the Celluloid Closet when I was coming out. Vito had just passed away. I came out in about '91, and I heard that Rob and Jeff were going to be making a film about it, and I said I want to come out and sweep the floors or do whatever you need, and they said yes. And then HBO came on board to produce the film with them. So it was during that period where I got to know Vito the activist, because I knew his work as a film scholar, but Rob and Jeffrey had collected all this material and had interviewed Vito, and that's what makes up a bulk of the film. I mean, all those interviews with Vito are either from Common Threads or from pre-interviews they did with Vito for Common Threads or for the Celluloid Closet. So I guess it was just a word of mouth, hearing about things that existed, looking at other documentaries. Arthur Dom's Outrage 69 also had some of that footage and told some of the same stories, and I don't know, it's watching a lot of other documentaries, really, and working with libraries and archives in New York, LA, San Francisco. So this stuff is out there. But when we would find something that was a miracle, we would all jump for joy around the office, and then, of course, with Philip, we found a way to incorporate it into the film.
And my next question is for Phyllis and Charles. You speak so poignantly about the films that Vito loved, and I want to know, what films didn't Vito like? Did he have many passions, but were there any actors or movies that he just said, oh, this is terrible? I'm sure he must have been as passionate about his hates as he was about his loves.
I'm so out of my comfort zone with the brainiacs on this panel. I find it, I get so emotional even now when I even think about Vito. He was so special to us, so my heart gets in the way of my tongue. I don't really recall Vito having idols, and he was just so intent on, when he got involved with finding the injustice of the homosexual depiction in movies. I don't remember him really having an idol or a pin-up or anything of that sort, if that's what you mean.
Did he have anybody on a dartboard?
No, that's what I'm thinking. Like, was there someone? But I'm not surprised, because I was the official babysitter of Charles and his brother, because I was 9 years older, and still. So I was just at the right age, so I became the babysitter, and Aunt Ann, who was my mom's younger sister, we were really friends. She was my confidant, and so I was really very close. And I just want to say Vito's despising injustice so much. I remember, if I'm allowed to take this much time, being his babysitter, his dad had painted the apartment once, and for some reason Vito was left unattended in the house, and he got locked in the bathroom because of the wet paint. And in his attempt to open up the window, he dropped a glass bottle of ammonia. He was being asphyxiated. And in his swift mind, he was only 8 or 9, and he broke the bathroom window. And of course, when his dad came home, he got somewhat of a beating with Charles's plastic bat. And so Vito, when the next time I babysat, he wanted to go and buy Oak Tag, because he made a poster of his dad wanted for brutal assault with a lethal weapon, and he was only a small boy. And And I said, Vito, how did you know those words? And he said, I saw a wanted poster in the post office. Someone was wanted for beating and assault with a deadly weapon. And he proceeded to get an oak tag and draw a picture of his dad and wrote wanted. And he said, I don't care about the physical abuse. It was just unfair. I was in survival mode, and I got hit for trying to save my life. And when I watch this, I think, my God, that childhood experience was so, it was just natural for him to grow up and fight these injustices. And I know I'm talking long, but I want to just say that Jeffrey Schwarz and the intensive research and the love and the devotion, and I'm so happy to see Vito's all friends all here alive and well today. It does my heart good, and I'm just honored that you have me on your panel today. Thank you.
You know, after seeing the film, and you know, I always get emotional, and I've seen it a few times. I think I'm going to go home and check our records because I think he was triplets. He was everywhere, my brother. And I would like to say this. I want to thank, of course, Jeffrey and his incredible staff. They were just so wonderful through this entire process. I want to thank HBO. I want to thank the New York Film Festival. I really do. HBO, it's wonderful having them on board because this is going to reach the mainstream, and it really needs to reach the mainstream. One thing I want to say is Vito was very fortunate because he was sort of the perfect storm. He had a loving family who supported him at a time when it was a very difficult time where young men and women were being thrown out of their houses and disowned. So he had a very supportive family. And then he was very fortunate because he found his close gay family, Arnie and Larry. And I just want to, you know, for me to be up here and Larry Kramer to not be up here is just an injustice. Larry, I just want to say this to you. I'm so happy to see you here tonight. But this is the year of Vito with the book out about Vito that Michael did so wonderfully. And, you know, the only thing I would like to mention is one of the things that, again, I said this once before, that jumped out of Michael's book. There was an early GAA meeting, and there was some arguing back and forth about politics in terms of changing laws. And Vito says, I know we have to change laws, but he said if we really want to change people and change their hearts, we have to do it through the media with positive images. And just to see this now, Vito's having his wish. So thank you all for being here, and it's wonderful.
To those relatives who can't shut up.
There's a lot of them here. Many.
And Arnie and Michael, could you just say a few words about Vito's development as an activist from the GAA through GLAAD? I guess it's roughly a 10, 15-year period.
I met Vito early in the beginning of GAA, after the first 2 or 3 months. We both joined it. We became fast friends immediately. He lived a few blocks away from where the meetings were in the church on 9th Avenue. And we would all go to his house afterwards and watch movies, of course. Especially if they had Judy Garland. He was very happy about that. There were pictures.
I wish I'd been there.
In every room in the house, including the bathroom, there were pictures of Judy Garland. He developed into a special kind of activist because of his love of film. And he created these film nights at our headquarters, the firehouse. And people came and stayed overnight. I'm surprised we didn't hear the one famous line from there where they were showing Night of the Living Dead, and some lesbian in the back yelled out, "Save me a breast." But what we were learning from Vito was what it meant to be a gay audience, what it meant to see things through our own eyes without having to filter it or transfer it from the mainstream. I think all minority groups do that. I'm sure, black people do that with white heroes, and gay people certainly, when they see love on the screen, have to translate themselves into the beloved of the hero, or the female hero. And so it grew from there. In the first year, the first parade of Gay Pride in 1970, we had a week of Gay Pride events, and he showed Gold Diggers of 1933. I'm going to lose my credentials. It brought people together in a whole new way, and this is the genesis of what became the Celluloid Closet. He started capitalizing on how people reacted. He started collecting film clips, not always legally, by the way. He would show films with his lecture without permission. He had asked for permission and got a no, so why let that bother him? It grew from the lecture into the book eventually, and I think I described in the film what it was like watching him try to create a book before he was ready to. He would get dressed every morning and sit down at this typewriter. We were in Fire Island, and he was on the deck, and he would sit there for about an hour staring at the typewriter, and then he would give up and go play.
That's the sign of a great writer. All great writers do this.
Well, eventually he realized what he had to do, and he did it. He did an immense amount of research, traveling. He lectured all over the world. And he brought this subject to consciousness. There had been a couple of smaller books before about gays in the movies, but they didn't have the scope or the depth or make the points that he made. And maybe Michael wants to talk about how current generation of gay scholars reacts to all this. No.